Before we begin, please be advised that this show may contain some adult themes and language that may not be suitable for all listeners. Now, onto our show. Welcome to the Sip and Saga Society podcast, where we cover histories, mysteries, and overall weird-ass shit. My name's Karina, and joining us today, we have Christina and Nevada. Woo! Because it's included in the script I write. Anyway, so what are we drinking? Friends? Families?
Well, I'm cooling down from my I spent a lot of time out. So I got a nice cup of filtered water and a cold brew. That's what I'm
Okay.
doing today.
Damn. Healthy. I always love a cold brew in the
I love a
evening
cold
time.
brew.
Also, I
Ooh.
really love a good cold brew. Okay, this is terrible. My favorite is a vanilla sweet cream cold brew with 2 pumps of white mocha.
Mm,
That
okay.
that's beautiful. That's my favorite.
My right now my favorite is the bourbon cream cold brew that they have at Scooters.
Oh, I'm getting paid this week. I'm going to Scooters.
It's good. I like it.
Christine, I forgot I put a heating pad on my back, and I was like, "Why is my back warm?"
Why am I hot?
Uh, okay, okay. What are you drinking, Christina? I know you sent us a picture.
I got this green tea with honey from the Asian market,
Ooh. That
Mm,
looks so good.
nothing like
and
an Asian market tea.
Nothing
yeah,
better.
I always like trying their drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've also been trying to be more like mindful with my eating. I'm not going to get into the whole bit of it, but basically like drinking green tea, helping, digest easier and stuff. Um, but it has been still warm here. So a cold green tea it is, and I have a Coke Zero for when I'm finished with that.
Ooh, okay. I have a poppy.
Poppy. Colton brought
Is
up
it the
Poppy
one?
today.
It's a cherry limeade.
Oh, that one's good too.
Sponsor us. I've not had that one yet.
Please sponsor us if it's good. Let me try it first. Evan was like, "You can just drink it," and I was like, "No, it's for the podcast. I have to drink it on air while we're recording."
Yes.
That is not bad.
In your top five?
Of the diet beverages, for sure. Like of the healthy sodas, yeah. It's pretty, I feel like it's a good three. Does that
It's a
make
three.
sense? Like
Yeah.
like I like kombucha. It's smoother
Ooh.
than kombucha,
Okay.
which I like. But it's definitely better than the Olipop. Olipop was like a
Can't do the
zero.
olive.
Uh-huh.
I wish I could, but I can't. They're not
Well,
good.
they're not good. I don't like them. But no, yeah, that's gonna be the next sticker. Poppy, sponsor us, please.
Sponsor us. Colton said that today. He's like, work on that sponsorship.
This week, I decided to go with a story that I don't feel like is really known. Like I know it because I'm a big true crime fan, and that's like one of my favorite things.
Hmm.
And it is sort of spooky, and it kind of fit the theme of this month's like ladies doing lightly unhinged behavior. So it's fascinating true crime case as well as a little bit of a mystery. And I was like, yeah, that. And I do this fun little thing called that I call my historic haunted tour of America, where I like to visit one haunted place in every state. And I visited, this is my first place that I went to. It's the Lizzie Borden house. And I really liked it, and I felt like it was super interesting. So I was like, yeah, what a perfect, story for Halloween. But this is gonna give you a hint of what she's like known for. This little tune. It's like a little nursery rhyme situation.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah, you probably do. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks, and when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. It's a little tune.
A
I
true
would not
tune.
sing that to my child, though.
Yeah, but the children would sing to each other because kids are morbid.
That's
Kids,
Yeah, that's
true.
like
kids
Ring
are more.
Around the Rosie. I did not
Yep.
know
Yeah.
that
It's
that
like that
one
same
was dark.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
London Bridge or Rockabye Cradle, baby.
That one is kind of fucked up too. I don't know.
Down will fall, baby.
You will fall. Okay. Thanks, Mom. In the book, it literally says it was only 29 whacks, but that was enough to kill them both. And I was like, yeah, obviously.
I feel like 3 or 4 probably would have done
Yeah,
fine
we
too.
didn't have to
A
go this
little
hard.
extreme. Yeah.
But yeah, but the
Into
book
the
was like,
20s.
I know. I feel like anything past like 2 is a lot.
Cathartic at that point. Like at that point, it's just
You're doing this for you. It's not about
personal
me
gain.
anymore.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So the books that I used, or the sources I used, were The Life and Trial of Lizzie Borden, The History of 19th Century America's Most Haunted Famous Murder Case by my new favorite writers, Charles River Editors. They are
Ooh,
the company that we used as a source before for the Elizabeth Bathory case. So they
okay.
write books that cover different like stories using different historical sources to create digital content about various subjects, as well as republishing literary classic via ebooks to be like more accessible for people. Honestly, I found them super informative. Like they use sources from different eras and they quote different books and different sources and like newspapers. I really like them. I also use The Life, Legend, and Mystery of Lizzie Borden by Trey Wyatt, LizzieBorden.com, which is the website for the Lizzie Borden house. I have visited the Lizzie Borden house in Massachusetts and I thought it was super cool. You can go on a ghost hunt, ghost or house tour, just a regular house tour, or book a room for the night, or I think even book the whole house for the night. So like if we all wanted to go and be like, let's stay at the Lizzie Borden house overnight, we could all go as like a group, a family, and take the whole place for ourselves.
Ooh, and then do a podcast.
Oh, that would be cool. It's in Massachusetts, so maybe in the
Maybe.
summer. It is furnished to look as closely to the original home of the Bordens as possible. Anything that they do have is like directly based on what the house looked like in that time. Artifacts from that case are on display, and it feels like you've traveled back in time. They also have a gift shop with a Lizzie bobblehead, posters, and even a board game and a haunted doll you can buy, which I was like, that's extra, but okay. Anyway, I also use historytoday.com and wallstreetjournal.com. Okay. So we set the scene in Fall River, Massachusetts in 1892. It's an industrial town about 49 miles south of Boston, full of textile mills near the Taunton River. It was the second largest textile manufacturing center in the world after England, which I was like, that's crazy that we were making that many textiles at that time. But like this was the Industrial Revolution era, like all we did was make shit. The mills were thriving and the port was busy. It was a hip happening town, and the wealthiest families lived in the neighborhood known as the Hill, quote unquote. How bougie. That was one of the big things about this case, the social context, so that these weren't just like random poor people. They were like some of the top richest, the daughters of one of the richest men in the city who basically built the town. So it wasn't like it was just some random kids. I feel like if it was just some poor lady who hatcheted her family, it would not have
It
made the
wouldn't
news.
have been big. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The Bordens were the typical upper middle class family. Andrew Borden and his wife, Sarah Morse were married in 1845 when he was 23. The couple lived in an area that was funded by the new money families, quote unquote. However, the family lived in an area of town where they could maintain their frugal lifestyle that Andrew preferred. So Andrew had all this money, but he didn't want to spend it on anybody. He wanted to save it all. So instead of living up on the hill, he lived on like a smaller little second rate, like regular neighborhood in a small little house, you know, because he was like, I'm saving my money. We will not.
Hell yeah.
I know, terrible. Their oldest daughter, Emma, was born in 1851, and Lizzie Andrew, literally named after Andrew Borden, on July 19th, 1860. She was most likely named after Andrew because the couple didn't have much hope in having a male heir at this point. So they had been married for quite a while. They got married in 1845, and their oldest wasn't born until 1851. Like, that's a pretty long time for that day and age. So
Yeah.
I think at that point they were like, we're done having kids after her. And so
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
no, yeah. I mean, yeah.
2 years after Lizzie was born in 1863, Sarah passed away of uterine congestion and disease of the spine. But
What's that mean?
I don't know, but they think she had cancer, which
Mm.
would make sense. I mean, she was, I think, a little bit older too when she had them.
Oh,
Lizzie was said to be a very sensitive child as well as shy, which may have affected the way people saw her because she kept to herself as an adult as well. Her older sister was always with her. The only other member of her family was Lizzie's uncle, John Morse, who, even after the death of his sister Sarah, remained close to the family and Andrew. He was Andrew's only friend, and they were in business together.
not the only friend.
I know. He literally had nobody else. It was just this guy. Well, he was super frugal too. And so he was like, no, about
Okay.
everything. Like that comes into play a little bit later. Andrew was really into the manufacturing business and was making bank with the American Civil War. So he
Oh,
left Lizzie under the care of her sister or a nanny. When the war was over, Andrew decided to marry again to a woman named Abby. Abby was a 37-year-old woman who had never married and potentially married Andrew to improve her social standing. And Andrew needed a wife, so it worked out. But also at that time, like you're a woman, all you're good for is having kids and marrying to do anything.
so marry well.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to get you places. Andrew was a rich man who had invested well, but did not make a show of his fortune. He lived on an unfashionable street in a modest house. Right now, it's not that much of an issue, but when they get older, Lizzie and Emma, the daughters, are going to be like wanting to look into that. They see all this cool stuff that they could have, but they can't
Hmm.
because their dad won't let them have anything.
Capitalism.
I know. It gets
It's
all of us.
great, baby.
I know. I get it. Lizzie, who had never really known her own mother, would eventually call Abby mother, but Emma was 14 years old and was sent to a boarding school. It was difficult for Lizzie, who saw her sister as more, I wrote s'more, of a mother because she was the one who cared for her after her mom died. According to an old principal who apparently liked to talk about students, she was she was an average scholar, neither exceptionally smart or noticeably dumb.
Mediocre at best.
I know, I was like, God damn. She was subject to varying moods and never fond of her stepmother. She would not hesitate to make known her dislike of her father's second wife. So they would talk shit about Abby.
Off at her every
Damn.
time she walks by,
Hmm.
sucking her through her teeth.
But Abby was described by others as kindly, lovable woman who tried to win the love of her stepdaughters. But I feel like when you show
Hmm.
up late, it's harder.
Yeah, you're like a season 5 character.
Hmm.
Like,
It doesn't work for me anymore. I don't want
sorry.
this. Her life was uneventful during the few years after she left school, but she quit piano lessons because she felt she wasn't destined to be a good musician, even though she was making good progress. She just was like, I just can't succeed at this. I'm done.
Okay.
Me too, Lizzie. Just quit. Quit all your hobbies. Her family was very religious and attended church regularly. She was, quote, surrounded by Christian home influences. What does that even mean? And made sure she was punctual to Sunday school class. She thought people didn't like her and made a poor impression, so consequently, she was avoided by the women of the church.
Girl, she's got to get it together.
I know,
Some self-love,
she
baby.
won't. As
Well,
she grew, she has a moment, okay? She
we're
gets better.
here. We're
She has a
here.
moment. I know. She grew older and she gravitated towards her father and older sister who lived at home after boarding school. So she literally left boarding school and moved back into her house. So now, like, the dad has two adult daughters that are just like there and then a wife. As an adult, Lizzie did enjoy an active social life. Her father made a lot of money during the war, so they were very top society people. She
Mm.
attended parties and took leadership roles in clubs. In an article by the Boston Herald, they mention her obnoxiously retiring manner was dissipated, and the responsive nature of the girl came into view, and then came the friends who today sound her praises. So eventually she did get it together enough to be like an active member of society and get out in the town. But
Thank
her
God.
I know. But her and her sister were both destined to never get married. So they never got married, which isn't a terrible thing. I don't know what people do.
It's okay if you don't want to be married, I guess.
That's fine.
Whatever.
So it became that much more uncomfortable in the house with Lizzie, Emma, and Abby living in the same house. Lizzie and Abby had a falling out when Lizzie was 27, after which Lizzie stopped referring to her as mother. And so then you have these three women who are like constantly fighting each other. I'm sure it would be so annoying for him to be like constantly. Because, Lizzie would be like, Abby said this shit. And then Emma would be like, yeah, she did, Dad. And then she's like, Andrew's like, I'm just trying to get work done.
He's
Why are you
like,
talking to
God,
me? So
that
on
is
June 20,
petty
you know what I mean.
women's drama.
I stay drama-ing.
Mm-hmm.
On June 21st, 1890, Lizzie and Emma left for Boston for a 19-week European tour, which may indicate to some not only their age, but also their income, and also their
Yeah.
desire to get away from the drama of the house. But bro,
19 weeks?
19 weeks just
Jeez.
touring.
Must be nice.
So they had to have money.
Mm-hmm.
That, and you got to remember, they're not working. They have not worked.
No, Dad's paying for all this.
Dad's paying for everything. All they do is go to their fucking clubs and then hang out with their friends.
That's the life.
I mean, it's not my life, but it's someone's life. So there were 3 adult women and then 1 adult man, but they also hired domestic help to handle the more grueling housekeeping tasks. There's 4 grown-ass people here, and they're like, we
I'm
still
not
need a
doing the
maid.
fucking dishes. I'm
I
not doing
get
the
it.
fucking
It's the
dishes.
laundry, but also there wasn't laundress disease at this time, so it's definitely like a, you know.
If I had the money, I would never do my laundry again.
I don't care about putting it in the washing machine. I just don't want to fold it. I want someone
That's
to
the part.
organize my stuff for me.
That's the part.
I
I
would pay
wash, I
money.
dry. I don't want to fold.
I hate the folding.
Mm.
It's
Well,
because
I'm the
you know what?
opposite. I will
You know,
fold it if you wash it.
Christina, I have a proposition for you. You move into my house. We do laundry always.
Like Zach will literally like wash and dry it, and I'll be like, okay, bring me the clothes. And then I sort it out, and then I fold it, and then I put it up. But it's
Hmm.
like I don't want to walk my ass across the house to go fucking put the shit in there, wait
My
for
cle
it, change it over. Like I don't want to do that. Let me sit in one spot and let me fold the shirt. Like
my clean clothes stay steady in a pile for like a week after they've been cleaned before I hang them up. It's not even that hard. I need to just put them on hangers.
Literally, Evan yesterday, he goes, I threw all the clothes on the bed so that we have to put it away.
We'll throw them on the floor.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, it's bedtime. We didn't get to this. Onto the floor. And I'm like,
No, I can't do that. I can't. Too bad, so sad. Get on the floor.
yeah, exactly.
In 1889, they hired Bridget Sullivan as a maid. She was called Maggie by Emma and Lizzie and had been working for Mr. Borden for 2 years and 9 months at the time of his death. She did washing, ironing, cooking, and sweeping.
why did they call her Maggie?
Oh, because she was Irish. Yeah. Please remember, this was a very racist time.
Yeah.
This is like a time where there was racism amongst the white people.
They didn't like Irish people.
Yeah. Because they immigrated later.
That makes sense. Maybe it's because they're redheaded.
Okay. It's always like that. I'm like, they've been here. Just chill, dude.
It's okay. People can just be.
They can't actually. Not in
Yeah.
this town.
Not here.
Later, anyway, no. We'll talk about this later. So
Okay.
we will get to it. Okay, so they did hire Bridget. I, for the most part, will call her Bridget in the rest of this because I feel like that was her name. So maybe we should call her that, not just whatever the fuck we decided on a Tuesday to call you because you're Irish. Racism.
That's why I was
Racism.
confused. I was like, nothing out of that sounds like Maggie.
I know.
I wonder if it was slang for something though.
It just was slang for she Irish because that's like a Maggie.
Yeah.
Like they literally was.
Because I was like thinking about like O'Malley, like that's like, like, oh, that's an Irish name. So
So Bridget did the washing, ironing, and cooking and sweeping. That's another
so
one
the,
that I don't love, sweeping.
I don't mind sweeping and mopping and vacuuming. I'll
I
do it
don't mind
all.
mopping. I just don't want to sweep.
So Bridget, this is the woman that is the person that does all their stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
She's just their maid.
Just the maid. And then this is old man.
No. The girl is Lizzie. That's Lizzie.
Oh, that's Lizzie.
Uh-huh. The old man is Andrew. That's the
Okay.
dad.
That's Big Daddy.
Papa.
This is what Lizzie looked like.
Yeah.
I can't lie, she looked kind of scary to me personally.
Like she could hatchet people.
Like her
Anyway.
eyes,
Yeah, there's something off on it,
it's a
right?
very blank. You know what I'm saying? Like emotionless almost.
Also, but in this time you had to like hold real still for photos, so maybe she was
For
disassociating
I'm too
well,
photogenic for this.
for a long time too. That's why they don't smile in photos.
because they're like, I'm tired of this shit.
Yeah. But she does got a weird, like, I'm like, not all there. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So she had to do all those chores, but she did not have to clean any of the bedrooms.
Oh,
And
good.
I know that's the least they could do. Her room was on the third story, right over Mr. Borden's, and his was over the kitchen. So it was like her room, Mr. Borden's, and then the kitchen. Lizzie was 32 and Emma was 42, and they hadn't been married at all, and hopes of marriage was slipping away. The women were still responsible for housework, and they all cleaned their own rooms. Lizzie and Emma felt entitled to their lifestyle that their founding family, quote unquote, title of the area could have provided to them. It's suspected that the grand tour of Europe the girls took opened their eyes to new hopes and ambitions, which makes sense. Like they got out there, saw new things, and they were like, we could be better,
That's what happens
faster.
when you educate women.
We could be Terminators. Lizzie was a little more outgoing than Emma, and there were even rumors that Lizzie was shoplifting. Crime activities.
Well, even when they have money, typically it is people who have money.
Well, yeah, because it's not about the stealing, it's about the thrill of the
It is.
the
You can,
rush.
if I was old, I'd do it. I'm fucking old. What are you gonna do?
There was an old lady at the nursing home that would run around and she would steal shit.
What? Okay, I don't agree with like stealing people's personal stuff, but
But
I'm
like stores don't count as people.
exactly.
Yeah.
But not a small business. But like
No, of course
Walmart,
not. Yeah, Walmart's
well,
not real.
yeah.
I
Home
don't care
Depot,
that much. Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
that's whatever. Take a peek.
Push your card out, baby. I don't care. I'll let you know if I see you come in. Anyway.
Exactly. So it is suspected, oh yes, Lizzie traveled and experienced the high society lifestyle of Europe. Lizzie was a little more outgoing than Emma, and there were rumors that Lizzie was shoplifting. It is believed that when their thefts came to the attention of her father, he always paid the bill, which makes sense. You don't want people to be like, hey, your kid's been stealing, and then put it in the mail or news or
Yeah.
whatever. So before the murders occurred, there were certain events that could have hinted that something sinister was about to happen. On June 24th, 1891, Andrew and Abby traveled to their farm in Swansea, Massachusetts. Lizzie, Emma, and Bridget stayed home. Somehow, while all three of them were at the house, a neighbor remembered Lizzie mentioning that they had gotten broken into. So everyone was home and they got broken into somehow, but nobody heard it. And
Interesting.
Lizzie's just like telling the neighbor because like she didn't even ask her. She's just like, it's just been crazy because people keep robbing our house, even when we're just sitting there. And you're just like, okay, Lizzie. In the
That's
house
like a
at oh go ahead.
that feels like very like kid coded though. Like
Yeah.
JP, she just like blurts stuff out to other people, and I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
but she's like fucking how old she is?
4.
40? No, yeah, JP's 4, Lizzie's 32. Shut up.
Yeah.
You're grown. Okay. She said, in the house at broad daylight while Emma and Maggie and me were there, but father forbade us telling other people.
And here she is.
But Papa said I couldn't, so I didn't. Like, that's literally what she just said.
But you don't count. You're not a real person.
I know. Apparently, Mrs. Borden's room was ransacked and they took a watch and a chain and money and car tickets. So the wife,
Not-
the stepmom's stuff was the stuff that was stolen out of.
Mm.
Weird that someone robbed the
How
house.
convenient of
The
the
woman
person
that they
didn't
don't like.
Yeah.
Odd. When 2 out of the 4 people that live here don't like you and now your stuff's been stolen.
Broad
Shocking.
daylight while they were home. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me
And
of
one
that,
of you
like,
likes to pick stuff up and put
Yeah,
it
one
in
of
her
you is
pocket.
already a shoplifter.
it reminds me of that TikTok that's like whenever someone talked like bad about someone to you and you see them, like your friend sees them, and they're like, hey, and they're like, hey, and they're like, nice day, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, you don't deserve to be outside, or like, you don't deserve to,
You don't deserve to be outside. You belong in a cage
cave.
or a
Yeah,
cave. A
yeah, yeah.
cave.
That's what that reminds me of.
That's-
Like, sorry,
that's-
Abby, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I don't fucking
Sorry.
like you. I know that's right, you know?
You deserve to have your stuff robbed.
What I do know is that I hate you.
Yeah.
So
Spitting facts.
this is just science. I don't know what to tell you. But also at this time, Lizzie was considered troubled because she
Oh.
had been previously accused of shoplifting.
Mm.
So the family was like, who knows? She's probably the robber. And then Mr. Borden installed locks on all the doors in the house because he was like, no more.
It's like I'm tired of this. I'm tired of your girls fucking beef, dude.
I think the only one that got like an extra key was Bridget the maid because she had to go in and out of like the kitchen and stuff.
Oh. Oh, he locked those rooms too.
He
Damn.
locked everything.
He wasn't fucking playing. He was
He was
done.
not. He was like, I'm
sick and
tired of
tired.
your thieving, Lizzie.
I'm tired and
I
sick
mean,
and sick and tired.
unknown person. Yes.
The
I
ghost.
said, yeah, exactly. I feel like at this time, people really took everything at its word, like in the 1800s,
Oh,
like it
yeah.
had to be true. I mean, I
Face
feel like at
value.
this point, people say, like, I can fly, and they're like, oh, for sure. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it just is, you said it, it has to be true.
Yeah.
Versus now, we're all very, like, skeptical about everything.
Except old people on the internet. They believe everything they see.
Oh, that's true. AI is 100% real. I'm not saying Lizzie was a shoplifter, but like it didn't matter if she was or she wasn't. Just like we're just believing the rumor regardless. They're like,
Yeah.
we didn't actually ever see her do it, but I heard a neighbor say she did it, so we're just believing them.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's the energy here.
Heard
But she
it
also
through
could
the
have been a shoplifter.
grapevine.
After this, the family atmosphere was more tense than ever. Which, yeah, because imagine this. Like, what the fuck? You can't just hang out with someone's been robbing your shit.
And you have to go talk to Bridget, who you don't
Yeah.
like because you're racist,
Yeah.
to get the key to go into the kitchen in your own home.
Hey, well, if you weren't stealing, this wouldn't be an issue.
This is a
Bridget or
weird,
whatever.
very dysfunctional family here.
It really is
That's
not great.
miserable.
You know, they were all suffering. The house is not that big, guys. Like, it's not that big. It's literally like 3 bedrooms on the top and then like the living room and the kitchen.
You have 5 grown humans.
Yeah.
That's a small ass
And the
house.
barn. It's a pretty little house. Anyway. Whew. In April of 1892, the Borden family barn was broken into, and Andrew Borden, Papa, was convinced people were breaking into it to steal pigeons.
Well, pigeons were big pets back then.
I
so.
know. They were like valuable, but it just cracked me up. Like I'm just envisioning like fucking pigeons are attracting vandals. So he decided the best course of action was to hatchet them to death.
The pigeons are
The pigeons.
Oh, I
the
thought-
pigeons
I
are
thought
the
you meant
problem.
the people.
Me too.
I was like, no wonder where Lizzie get it from. It's in the
Yeah.
bloodline.
It's
The
in
hatchets. And he killed them, even though Lizzie considered them her pets.
Oh, that's probably what got her.
Honestly,
Well-
like, I mean, not to out myself, but I would commit a crime.
Eye for an
My
eye,
dogs.
man. Yeah.
Y'all know
Is
how
the
I am
whole
about the
world
dogs.
blind?
And my spider.
Honestly, though.
Also,
Makes
the spider
sense.
broke out the other day again. But he stayed
How?
on his little house. There's a
Oh,
little
that's
hole.
good.
Oh. Wait, which one? The little jumping spider?
Yeah, my little one.
Yeah.
No, I lost my second littlest one. One of them ran off. I don't know where it went. The door stayed cracked and it ran away. Anyhow,
Your cat probably got him, honestly.
I mean, if you get out, that's on you.
That's on you.
I can't help you now.
The cage is to keep you safe.
Literally, yes. You will get eaten and you get fed. Like, come on.
Chill
Anyway,
out.
Lizzie testified later that her father had argued recently with a man who wanted a store and Andrew did not want to let him have the store. And then Andrew kicked him out of the house. And like repeatedly, they'll ask her what happened, and she'll bring up this story of the dad getting into a fight with this stranger that nobody else witnessed. So that, like, I don't know, so she can have an alibi. I don't know why. She just kept bringing it up. Like, just to make sure we're all aware. My dad got in a fight with this guy. Convenient of Lizzie to create beef with a random person only she knew about. And also, she said the guy lived out of town, which in the 1800s was basically like never existing at all. Because it's the 1800s. You could walk like a fucking hour. Nobody knows what your name is. Nobody knows who you are. You could just say, my name's Jim. I'm a doctor, and people believe you.
Those were the days, dude. Those
There
were the
was no
days.
internet.
I mean, all this
Yeah.
has to be like premeditated. I mean, she sounds like she knows what she's doing, you know?
She doesn't sound dumb.
Yeah, yeah. Like either way, there's like she's trying to build it up to where like she could be like, oh, like if something happens, what are the first thing that people are gonna say? Oh, well, Lizzie told us that Andrew got into a fight with this guy. They're not gonna
She's
think Lizzie
smart.
did it. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
like her. I like
Mm.
her for this.
I feel like you will like her. I real talk. I think that at the end you're gonna be like, I identify with Lizzie Borden.
Is that my red flag? No.
Sticker idea. I identify. uh, anyway, later on, Lizzie and Emma would go on an extended trip. Life is hard when you have money and literally no responsibilities.
Because you have no purpose.
Yeah, well, other than having kids,
Uh,
as the only person without kids, I also am lacking in purpose. I'll be.
Obviously, your uterus hasn't been used.
I'm okay with that. They traveled to New Bedford together, but stayed in with different friends. So they traveled to the town together, and then Lizzie stayed with her friends, and Emma stayed with her friends. And then Lizzie traveled around. She went shopping. She made sure she was seen, and then she went back to Fall River, where the family lives, while her sister stayed in New Bedford.
Hmm.
Andrew and Abby had eaten mutton, and then a few days after that, they were feeling sick. Eventually, Abby felt bad enough to go to the doctor and told him she felt they were being poisoned. The doctor went back to the Borden house to check on Andrew. And then Andrew got mad because she brought the doctor to the place. And I think he literally just didn't want to pay for him. And then he sent him away. And then the doctor laughed at Abby because she suggested they were being poisoned and was like, LOL, okay, crazy. You're not being poisoned. It's fine. And so then Abby comes back from the doctor and she's like so embarrassed because of the way that Andrew treated the doctor. But I was like, what the fuck? No one takes anyone seriously in this house. Abby seems to be the only reasonable one. And everyone's just like, shut up, Abby.
Dude, can you imagine, like, because like the maids get together and talk. Could you imagine that, like, tea circle, like Bridget with all these crazy people? That tea circle had to have been
I
good.
would pay money.
Yeah.
The money I would pay for this. Because it would be like, so Lizzie came home and she backhanded Abby, Mrs. Borden, and Andrew said nothing. You know what I mean? Like it would be
Yeah.
something like that where it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
"Mm,
exactly.
my family's normal."
I like that. Makes me feel better about myself
I
and my
know.
dysfunctions.
I know. Lizzie also said she was sick, but she is also reported to have been going shopping literally that morning that Abby went to the doctor. So, okay. And she went to the pharmacy to buy cyanide, but the pharmacist would not sell it to her.
Oh, okay.
And so I wrote, sus, Lizzie.
It didn't cover your tracks there very well.
Also, I've decided to type every thought when I read through and take the notes. And it's really been working for me today.
I love it.
Well, it's because I have like past Karina's humor and my current Karina humor. And so I'm like, wow, she's really good at this. Anyway, later that day, they had more mutton because why not? Also, Andrew is frugal. I think when I went to the museum, like you go through and they tell you a little tour, and they literally reiterated how frugal he was and how tight-fisted he was. And even though they were all sick from eating this fucking mutton, he was like, we're gonna keep eating this 'cause we are not wasting this. We're not wasting the mutton.
Don't waste the fucking mutton.
Also, at this time, the uncle, John Morris, showed up for lunch and to invite Andrew to go with him somewhere, but Andrew was like, I'm too sick. I'm gonna stay home, take a little nap.
Because of all the mutton.
He's like, I keep eating this and it makes me feel bad, but I keep eating it
Oh,
and I
we're
keep
not
feeling bad.
wasting it.
It's crazy. Who are you for
And I can
him?
imagine like probably really greasy and stuff or like fatty,
Oh,
like it's probably not
as a
gonna settle well.
vegetarian. Ugh. Literally, I can't even. Evan was cooking a burger last night and I almost vomited. I was like, this is not it. This is not it for me.
I
I
need to
can't
get
do
out of
this.
here.
I had to go. I literally was like about to throw up because like blood spurt. Oh, I don't like it.
Mm-mm.
I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
seen the worst things as a nurse. I've seen terrible, terrible things, smelled the worst things. That always gets me. Meat, like cooked meat, is always weird for me. And it's like I don't ever bring it up because like I've been a vegetarian since I was 11, so it's like whatever. But like I'm pretty good about being like, this doesn't bother me. But sometimes like when it catches me unawares, I'm like, ugh,
Mhm.
I'm being assaulted by meats. It's weird. I know. It's funny. I'm like, I've never thought I'd get to this point in my life. I used to crave fried chicken, but also fried chicken.
It is fried chicken.
Honestly, for me, it's the breading.
It's so
Like
good.
I could just eat that breading
No,
by
you know
itself.
what's really good? You know Harps? Harps
Yes.
has potato wedges that have the breading that you would do on fried chicken.
Oh,
Yes.
They're
stop.
so fucking good.
So good.
Every time I go, I if I put gas, I try to be like, "Hey, can I have some of these wedges?" Because they're so and they're seasoned so good.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm
Honestly,
going for Thanksgiving.
Harp's Deli is really good.
Why
Like
are they
everything
so
that I've
good?
gotten from there is really good.
It always is, yeah.
Okay, I have like 7 more pages to go, so I'm gonna keep going, but they're
They're
so
great.
good. Anyway, Lizzie had confided in her friend that day that everyone in the house was sick except for Maggie.
That bitch.
Also, Maggie was Irish in a time when discriminate. Oh yeah, this. I wanted to make sure I included the. This was a time when people discriminated against Irish people and Italian people. She also told her friend about the man who came to the house and had a disagreement with her father. She said, sometimes I worry something will happen to him. He's so discourteous to people. She's so terrible at
Mm.
this. She's like, I just don't know. Maybe something will happen to my dad because he's just such a dick. Like, I don't know though.
I'm not plotting anything.
It would be
Mm-mm.
ashamed if something
I
happened.
wouldn't be surprised if my dad got hatcheted later,
She should have just, yeah,
More than 20 times.
potentially.
allegedly.
By the time Lizzie came home that night, her Uncle Morris was already there. Abby went to sleep at 9:15 and everyone else was in bed after 10. On the day of the murder, August 4th, 1892, Bridget was finally sick after not feeling any of the symptoms until after she ate breakfast. So she like woke up that day, had breakfast, and after that she was like, I feel terrible. I'm ill. The family illness was a mystery. So I think literally nobody knew, but the way that they made it seem at the place at the Lizzie Borden house was that the mutton was bad, like the meat was bad, but they just kept eating it, which makes
So
sense to me. In a time without
food poisoning.
refrigerators,
Food poisoning.
mm, suspicious.
Interesting.
The day began like it always did, with everyone getting up and having breakfast by 7 a.m. Mr. Borden was already awake and doing chores by 6:30, and Mr. Morse was still visiting. So Bridget served them mutton,
Mhm.
broth made with mutton, and Johnny cakes, as well as cookies.
What are Johnny cakes?
I think they're like, I don't know. I think they're like weird biscuits.
I'm looking it up. I'm
Are we
intrigued.
making them? Are we podcast snack day?
They're pancakes. They're like
Oh,
they're cornmeal flatbread that originated with the indigenous people, but they don't look like Indian bread.
they're
They
just like
also,
pancakey.
yeah, but they're also called hoe cakes.
Oh,
It's spelled like that too, Hoe. Hoe cake. Yeah, it's just like cornbread, but pancake style.
wow. That sounds delicious, actually.
I
Yeah,
feel like I would eat that. Yeah.
That sounds really good.
I would.
Because I feel like that's very diverse. Like you could do like butter and jelly, or you
Hmm.
could do like biscuits and gravy style. Like there's so many
I'm
options.
like, you could put honey on the top of it. You could put your mutton cake on it
I'm like, are we making Johnny cakes with mutton?
with mutton,
Only with mutton. I will not eat a meal without mutton. Anyway,
obviously. It needs to be a week old too,
I only wanted a week old.
not
I
fresh
wanted
meat.
green. Morse remembers that he and Andrew read the papers and talked until 9 about business and the farm. And then Abby went off to get the day started while Lizzie sat down for a hot girl breakfast of coffee and cookies. Me
Oh,
Mm,
too,
okay.
hot girl.
Lizzie.
Breakfast of champions.
Died. Who hasn't had that breakfast? Morse had left for the day, but before Andrew went to work, Lizzie asked him to take letters to mail with him. Abby was done cleaning downstairs by this point and sent Bridget outside to clean the windows while she cleaned the upstairs. So Andrew came home and Lizzie was like, "Where's the mail? Is there anything for me?" And he was like, "No, this is for me. GTFO, Lizzie. Calm down." But then Lizzie was like, "Okay, that's fine. But, Mrs. Borden went out and she got a note from somebody, so she left. And the only one that knows she left, quote unquote, is Lizzie. Because remember, Bridget is outside cleaning windows.
Yeah.
She doesn't know.
Okay. So just Lizzie.
Yeah, Lizzie's the only one that can corroborate this part of the story. I
Mm.
said, and this is probably a lie because nobody saw Abby
What?
go out that morning. There's no witness that said, yeah, we saw her. She ended up here.
Mm-hmm.
Or we saw
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
her this morning. I mean, it's a small town. Like, everyone knows everybody. They're all
yeah.
nosy. We don't have TV. There's no soap operas. This is all they got.
No internet.
Mm-mm. Lizzie asked Bridget if she would be going out that afternoon. And Bridget was like, I feel bad. I don't want to leave the house. And then Lizzie was like, well, if you do go out, remember to lock the door because my stepmom's already out and there won't be anybody home. So I just want to make sure the door's locked.
Point
Which is
blank, period.
which is weird
Like,
because it feels like she's just reiterating like my stepmother is gone.
yeah.
She left the house.
I was gonna say, like, she sounds so obvious, like not obvious, but like suspicious. Like,
It's like when a kid's trying to hide something from you, but they're really bad at lying.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I didn't cut my own bangs. I don't know where that hair came from. I don't know. We
It's
haven't
my
had.
hair
I don't
color.
know why there's a chunk missing from right here.
What do you mean?
No, I didn't hit my brother. That film evidence is not me. It's a ghost. I don't know. Kids be telling the worst lies.
Nobody pushed him down the stairs. He just fell.
He fell after I gently nudged him. Bridget does not remember anyone else being in the house except Lizzie and Andrew Borden at this point because she's already been told by Lizzie that, oh, well, make sure you lock the door because my mom's gone. She didn't say mom, but
Of
I'm saying it
course.
that way. Lizzie was the last person to see her father alive and the first to find him dead. Sus. After she asked if he had mail for her, she asked how he felt, and he was like, I should nap, I'm tired. And he took off his shoes, put on his slippers, and took off his coat. And then Lizzie said she went outside to the barn. So she was out.
To play with her dead pigeons.
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck Lizzie does when she's free, when no one's watching. Bridget thought Abby had left the house, and Bridget was obviously not feeling well. So she's like, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to take some rest. And she reiterates in her statement that she did not fall asleep, that whenever she got to her bed, she heard the clock, like the church clock, chime
Mm.
11. So it had just turned 11. She lay down in bed around 11 a.m. and believed she was only there for a few minutes. I heard no sound, didn't hear the door opening, didn't hear anything. Next thing she knew, and she's like right by the door, like her bedroom is like above the kitchen. It's like a little tiny staircase above the kitchen under like a side door. Like she's right there. She can hear everybody coming in and out. And if
Okay.
anyone was going into the barn, it would be open right under her door, under her
Okay.
window. Um, so next thing she knew, she heard Lizzie yelling, "Maggie, come down, father is dead." Bridget believes this was about 10 to 15 minutes after the clock struck 11. She ran downstairs. She saw Lizzie standing with her back to the screen door. She told her not to go in because she had to go get the doctor as soon as possible. Lizzie's okay, so then she's like, I gotta go get the doctor. And then Lizzie sends Bridget to go get a neighbor. And on the way, on the way to find the neighbor, Bridget sees the doctor's wife. And she's like, you need to go to the house. Mr. Borden's dead. That's what she's saying.
Hmm.
Eventually, she found the neighbor she was looking for, who was Miss Russell, and she made her way back to the house. One of the neighbors saw that there was stuff going on and saw Bridget running. So she walked over to ask Lizzie what was going on. And she said, Mrs. Churchill, come over. Someone has killed father in the sitting room. And I'm like, what a fucking weirdo. Hey, come here. My dad's dead in the living room.
But that was like a thing too. Everyone wanted to see dead bodies.
It was a
No
weird
TV.
time.
No
Mhm,
TV.
it's true. Lizzie told the neighbor she went outside to get a piece of iron.
For what?
Okay. From the barn, and that her mother had gone out with the note. And she is killed too, for I thought I heard her come in. That's what she literally says. That's what she says. Nobody has found Mrs. Borden yet.
She was telling on herself.
She's
She
terrible
really
at this.
was, yeah.
Dr. Bowen was not home, and we need a doctor. The neighbor volunteered to go get a doctor, and she was on her way. Okay, so I did discover that the piece of iron was like a lead for fishing.
Why?
I don't know. She's a fucking weirdo. Why do we keep expecting reasonableness out of Lizzie?
Like a little weight.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think that's what
Oh,
it is.
okay.
So then the neighbor volunteered to go get a doctor and was on her way. When Dr. Bowen arrived, the house was a mess. He had asked Lizzie what was going on, and she said, "Father has been killed." They found Mr. Borden in the sitting room with his face badly cut. He was hardly recognizable by anyone who knew him, and Dr. Bowen felt for his pulse. When he saw Lizzie, he asked if she had. Nev, shut up.
Okay.
Because I said that and I was like, he's fucking hatcheted to the face.
We can't recognize him.
Let me go check. Just
And
in
it's
case.
been, by this time, it's been what, like at least an hour, probably.
You know what? The police gets there at 11:45. It was
See.
11:15 when this happened. Like the whole thing happened fast.
Oh, wow. Especially for that time.
I'm sending y'all some photos.
Are they gory?
Lightly.
Okay. I just wanted. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, that's her.
Ah! You're welcome.
The one with Andrew looks terrible.
And he checked his pulse. He was like, he's not dead. Let me
Yeah.
make sure. What?
I
Oh,
think
man.
that's wild.
If you're listening to this episode and you want to find the photo, I am using it for our Instagram, Facebook post.
Their
And it's
skulls
also
are
should be on our website.
fucked
Yeah,
up.
they're
Yeah.
shattered.
Hmm
Oh, those babies.
I feel like the skulls really do kind of make it clear like how bad it actually was.
Mhm.
I think we
Yeah.
could say like they were cut up, like, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. But like
No,
there
she
was
was
some
swinging that thing.
force. She
Yeah.
was swinging. The way you said it
She
tickled me.
was tired of them.
Yeah.
I like how in the picture they have the hatchet too.
How cute.
That
Um,
I thought it was bigger for some reason,
I mean, a
but
hatchet is little. I feel like an axe is big.
yeah, I was thinking of an axe. Sorry.
He was hardly
Damn.
recognizable. Dr. Bowen felt for his pulse. When he saw Lizzie, he asked if she had seen anyone, and she said no. And when he asked her where she had been, she was like, "I went out to find some iron in the barn."
Where the hatchet also lived.
What else do you do on a Tuesday, sir? By this point,
I have money. So I don't have anything else better to do other than go on 19-week vacations there.
and find my iron in the barn. Come on.
Yeah.
I've told you already.
Play with my dead pigeons per net.
Okay.
Continue.
I'm gonna
This
play with
is for
my.
the pigeons.
Shut up! Oh my god!
She said, "Y'all remember this act? You remember this hatchet?
You remember?
Full circle. That's what's happening."
No, stop.
Okay, I'm gonna focus
Okay.
before I start crying. Oh my god, Christine, you remember this hatchet? It's like Ice Cube shows up somehow. Kevin Hart talks shit about this pigeon guy. Anyway, I just watched the show Fight Night,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
and so I'm just like, damn, these guys show up. Anyhow, we felt for his pulse. Sorry.
There was no pulse. Shocker. I know.
It was a surprise to me too. But the anyway, I was like, okay, she went out to go get some more iron in the barn. By this point, Bridget and Alice Russell made their way back to the house. Also, if Lizzie didn't do this, imagine, because it would be so funny. She was like, I just wanted to go fishing. Dad had to fucking die. I wanted to fish today. I got to deal with all of this. Like, imagine.
What a disappointment.
Oh.
I'd be pissed.
I just wanted to catch some trout, my guy.
My plan today was to use the iron from the barn to catch a catfish. He fucked it up for me. Anywho, so then they send Bridget to go find a sheet to cover Mr. Borden with. And then Dr. Bowen went to telegraph Emma at Lizzie's request, which feels suspicious to me because I'm like, oh, Lizzie's just telling you to leave. She's just like, get the fuck out. She didn't say it like this. Okay, I
Of
recognize
course.
this. But she was like, can you go telegraph my sister? And I'm like, Lizzie, you haven't done a damn thing. You sent everybody else to walk around but you.
That's on rich girl behavior.
I feel strongly about this, obviously. I'm like trying to not yell in everyone's ear. I'm yelling in my own ear. That's why I'm like, oh, I know I'm loud today. They try to figure out okay. So then, all right, like, so we know Andrew's dead. And at this point, we haven't seen Abby because remember, Lizzie said she's out in the streets. And they were like, how do we call Abby and let her know that her husband died?
How
Boy,
do
are
we?
they in for disappointment.
So then, Lizzie told Abby she heard, oh no. Lizzie had told Abby she heard Mrs. Borden come in. No, Abby is Mrs. Borden. What did I mean there? So Lizzie told Bridget that she had felt like she heard Mrs. Borden come in. And she goes, well, let's go upstairs and see if she's here. Well, yeah. And I'm just like, okay, why, if you thought you heard her come in, you didn't say anything till right now? Wouldn't you want to be like, hey, Abby, your husband's dead. You should probably come over here and not go upstairs.
Yeah.
So when you go on this tour, the way that the historian told us about her case and everything very much skewed her in being the victim in this and
Okay.
potentially her not being the person that did it. But the more that I have done research, Lizzie, what the fuck were you doing, Loca? Like, because it just sounds like she's just like the whole time was like, let me figure out how to make myself seem like the victim and also like I don't know what's going on at all. Like
Yeah, I'm kind of getting that too.
I don't like her. She's just upsetting me with her nature. So they try to figure out how to find Abby because they don't know where she's at, supposedly, and let her know that her husband had died. So Lizzie told Abby that she had heard, yeah, Lizzie told Bridget she had heard Mrs. Borden come in, and she's like, go upstairs and see. And so she was like, I'm not gonna go up there by myself. Uh, the fucking guy just got hatcheted.
Somebody was murdered.
So I'm not going alone. And so, you know how she went to go get the neighbor, Mrs. Russell? So Mrs. Russell was like, okay, I'll go with you. And so she goes upstairs with Bridget. And she's like, they open the door and they can see Miss Mrs. Borden under the bed, like face down on the floor, hatcheted.
Yeah.
And they decided not to go into the room because they could see her from the door.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, I'm not doing this.
They said she got
Smart.
shot too.
They got her. And so she walked down, they walked back down. And Lizzie was just waiting on the couch, just chilling. I don't think she ever cried, like at any point. I don't remember reading a report of her being distraught in any way.
Just bossy, not distraught.
She does what she wants.
Love
The
that for
cops
her.
swarmed the house and contacted the medical examiner, Dr. William Dolan, who arrived at the house at 11:45. He performed the preliminary autopsies on the bodies while they were still in the house and in the position that they died in. Mr. Borden was noted to be lying on the sofa. His hand was warm and blood oozed from the wound and was bright red in color. The head was resting on a cushion. He stayed for 2 to 3 minutes, observing, I guess, then went upstairs to check on Mrs. Borden. She was lying between the dresser and the bed, and the blood was coagulated in the back of her head in dark color. She lay with her back exposed. Dr. Dolan determined Abby died first because when he touched her, she was much colder than Andrew, and he reiterated many times he did not use a thermometer, but he did bring it with him.
What kind of doctor is this? I'm so done with him.
I just was like, why do we keep bringing this up?
You have the thermometer. He said, I didn't use it. Didn't need it.
Everyone to know that my readings are accurate. Trust my word.
I'm the doctor.
I was like, okay, why do you keep bringing it up? Like,
He said someone's bound to tell me I'm on some bullshit. I need to be prepared.
okay, all I'm hearing is I had it and I just wanted to pretend I was smarter than the fucking tool to measure. Like, what are you winning, sir?
That
What
sounds
prize
like
did
a
you get?
God damn it.
Anyhow, Mr. Borden had 8 to 10 wounds on his body, and his pocketbook has had $81 in it. And he still had like all his clothes. He still had his wallet on him. He still had his ring. Like, this was not a robbery. It's not like somebody was like, I know a rich man lives there. I'm gonna take all his shit. Like,
Yeah.
it was literally just like, we're out to get him. And also, as a true crime enthusiast, shocking. Um, a crime of passion is definitely one that is like violent and aggressive. And the fact that they attacked their face, that tells me everything. Like, you're
Yeah.
pissed,
Mhm.
you're angry at that person.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Dolan re-examined Abby to get an accurate count of her wounds, then took a sample of yesterday's milk and today's milk, just to make sure that people weren't being poisoned. And they
Oh,
took 2 hatchets from the property. I know you're like, what the fuck are you doing with this
what does
milk?
the milk have to do with
You
anything?
It's
pervert.
not the gaping freaking holes in their head from a hatchet.
No,
They might have been poisoned.
I think what they were thinking was like, if they're being poisoned later on, and I'll probably
Oh,
repeat this again,
okay.
somebody will say that like Lizzie was like trying to poison the family,
Oh,
and when that didn't work fast enough, she was like,
I'll take
hatchets it
matters into
is.
my hands.
she
Yeah,
should have.
yeah.
They should have checked the mutton, not the milk.
Yeah.
They're probably like, I have mutton at home. I don't want to think too hard about this.
Could you imagine being like Bridget though in this whole situation? Like she was like, I'm gonna lay down because I'm not feeling good. Now I have to look at these dead bodies. She's sending me all over the goddamn place. Fucking like go tell a neighbor. Go phone her fucking sister. Like, bitch, I don't feel good. Why are you asking me for all this?
And also, your dad's dead. I probably don't have a job anymore.
Yeah. I don't
And
work.
nobody likes this
Oh.
type of white.
Yes,
So
exactly. I'm the wrong type of white.
Why
Every
am I
day,
even here at this point?
every day is a struggle. Justice for Bridget. The deputy questioned Lizzie, who testified she was looking for sinkers to go fishing. Lizzie's literally still like, I'm trying to go fishing, ma'am. She told him about the man who came to talk to Andrew and the argument that followed. When they asked about her mother's body, she said, she is not my mother. She is my stepmother. My mother died when I was a child. I said,
Noted.
as the detectives worked, Morse, the uncle, the sister's or the first wife's brother, returned to the house. He walked around and just picked some pears, then went in through the back door where he learned that Mr. and Mrs. Borden had been murdered. I opened the sitting room door and I found doctors. I only glanced at the body, then I went upstairs and I had a very hasty view of the dead woman.
Hasty.
And well, for me, the way that it was written, it literally was written, I had a very hasty view of the dead woman. To me, like, I don't feel like I would word it like that. I feel like wording it like that is very much like being like that dead lady. When it's
Yeah.
like, if that's like your best friend's wife,
Wife.
would you not talk
Yeah.
about them like they were a person?
Like a human being, not somebody you don't know.
Yeah. And I think that I feel like that was like his sister died and she
Yeah.
basically took her place. So I feel like that would be a little hard
Yeah.
as a brother for some.
Yeah. He's like, she got hers.
I feel like it. He's like, I didn't even look at her. She dead though. Like,
She wasn't moving.
it's not wrong. When the police left, they left Lizzie alone with the neighbor Alice Russell, Bridget, and John Morse. Alice Russell stated that she stayed at the house all night long and never suggested to Lizzie that she change her dress, or did she hear anyone else say it. This is important later.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, Emma, the sister, made her way back and receiving the telegram. Oh, after she received that telegram that her father and his stepmother were dead.
Yeah.
The girls planned a quiet funeral, but the trip from the house was anything but quiet. Everyone in the crowd of 1,500 people, 1,500 people, were watching Lizzie. They were, I mean, this was a spectacle. They were like, fuck yeah, we don't have a television. She wore a tight-fitting black lace dress and a plain skirt with a modest cut. Her eyes were dimmed, and her face was pale, making it apparent to everyone that she was suffering, which many considered a strong argument in her defense. Like, obviously, she's going through it.
Mm-hmm.
During the funeral, the police investigated the home. So while the family's out mourning, the police come into the house and look around. They made a search, but didn't search everywhere. Like, they would just go in a room and like open like a couple drawers and be like, okay, cool.
Good work.
Okay.
Where's the donuts? Like,
Checks out. The milk isn't poisoned, so we could use that.
mm-hmm. The milk is good.
It's good.
On Sunday morning, Alice Russell, who was still there, what a good neighbor, she just still at their house, went to the kitchen around noon and saw Lizzie burning her skirt in the stove.
Weird.
She was like, it's covered in paint. Her sister told her, I wouldn't let anyone see me do that. You dumb bitch. Like, what?
That lie isn't even good. Like, what?
There's paint on it. When did you paint?
Wash it? You have a
That's what
maid.
Bridget is for, Tom.
You dumb bitch.
Later, Emma would tell the court that when one of the investigators asked Alice Russell if all the dresses that were in the closet were the amount that were there the day of the tragedy, like, are there the same amount of dresses today that were there that day that everybody died? She said yes. And then Emma heard her and she goes, no, that is a falsehood. Because she knew that they both had seen Lizzie burning that dress.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
then she went and told the investigator about it.
Oh,
Snitches
because you
get
said that
stitches.
Emma and Lizzie had a falling out, right?
No, Lizzie and I don't know if they did or if just Lizzie or didn't, like, if Lizzie did kill them, she didn't tell Emma.
Okay.
I feel like that might have been the case.
Yeah.
And she was like, "You're being a liar.
I was gonna say either way, Emma's like, girlfriend, you're
Shut the
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, it's that season.
Okay. Doo-doo-doo. On Tuesday, August 9th, less than a week after the murders, the rumor mill was working overtime, and so were the
Ooh.
detectives. They went back to the Borden house and dug up the clothes that was worn by the victims, which I'm like, you dumb bitches. Who is just leaving clothes from the people that were murdered just out and about? I know they didn't know about anything these days.
Forensics and stuff.
Right, but
Yeah.
I'm still like, you were like, well, we looked at everything. We saw what we needed to see. Nothing. We gotta go. Like,
Just yep, nothing here.
I'm
Uh,
leaving.
Bye.
Anyway, so they came back and they dug up the clothes and they took certain parts of the clothes and then they buried the rest behind the barn. And I was like, why don't you just
Why?
take it with you?
What? What?
I don't know. I don't know. I was like,
Make it make sense.
it doesn't. Mr. Morse, the brother-in-law, was around that day, and while the investigators were there, and one of the detectives was just like, it was suspicious, so I just watched him.
Fair, I
That guy
guess.
needs to get a hobby. When they found Andrew's body, Lizzie had no visible blood on her. There were 4 hatchets and axes in the cellar, and no blood was found on any of those either. Some people speculated that Lizzie had been poisoning her family, and when that wasn't moving fast enough, she used the hatchet. But Lizzie never bought any of the poison because the pharmacist wouldn't sell it to her. So Abby and Andrew did not have any poison in their stomachs when they were autopsied.
Mm,
So they eventually did interview Lizzie, and she did not remember any of the details of the day, and she would remember things that didn't actually happen.
mm.
The
The story
complete
doesn't line up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The conflicting statements, strange behavior, and actions made Lizzie highly suspicious. There was no
Yeah.
murder weapon, not a speck of blood on Lizzie or in her room, and no real evidence of a reason to kill, of a motive. The inquisition began, and detectives brought up that Lizzie mentioned multiple times that she went to the barn, but the detectives state that when they went to investigate this, the barn was covered in a layer of dust, without many footprints on them.
Hmm.
Many were sympathetic to her for her status, but also because she was a woman. So they
Yeah,
decided she just forgot where she went.
that makes sense. We do that often, us
She
women.
just didn't know that she didn't go to the barn. She just went somewhere else. An unknown place, a secret
Unknown.
place. She's a wizard.
The secret.
It's a secret. They also wondered why Lizzie kept mentioning that Abby went out with a note without any proof of a note.
Where's your note?
Where is the note?
Too
She
adamant about it.
She was like, but she went out. The
very.
only theory they would entertain was that Abby was killed first and that the killer closed the door afterwards. They
Mm.
and they were like, "Oh, it's a secret. It's a secret murder." They they presented Lizzie's demeanor and questioned the they questioned the location of the uncle John Morse. So one of the theories is that like the uncle helped Lizzie kill everybody. And since nobody knew where he was because he was going to go to like some farm that day,
I mean,
he could have like said, I'm leaving, but actually just went, helped her out, and then left, and then came
yeah.
back later. The
I,
second day of the inquisitions and like interviews, they brought in witnesses, Bridget Sullivan and Lizzie, because so this is before they're like arresting anybody. And they brought them to Bridget and Lizzie because they were the only ones that were in the house when it happened. Everybody else just showed up after. According to a reporter, the past few days have aged Lizzie terribly. Her cheeks have disappeared. Her bright eyes and haughty expression remain, though. You would think she was walking to a picnic and not to an inquisition. So she's looking good.
how dare she look good? She
Mm.
should be ugly
Sad.
because
She
she's
should be
mourning.
ugly. Exactly. The detectives questioned Lizzie closely on her doings of the day.
Good.
The investigations were too much. She was unable to give clear answers and gave conflicting statements. After questioning other witnesses, Lizzie was arrested on August 11th, charged with the murder of her father and stepmother. But she took her arrest with calmness. On August 12th, Lizzie appeared in court before Judge Josiah Blaisdell, and She pled. I wrote leaded. She pled not guilty. 10 days later, she appeared for the preliminary hearing where the judge determined that she was probably guilty, quote unquote. She was probably guilty. And so we should just send her to a grand jury. And I was like,
What?
I feel like you should be more sure. Maybe.
We like to put innocent people behind bars. That's fine.
It had been proved that the milk drank from the family was not poisoned, but also Bridget testified that that Lizzie was wearing a blue dress on the morning of the murders, and Russell testified, Alice Russell, the neighbor, that she watched Lizzie burn that blue dress the night of the murder.
Ooh.
And that was enough for the grand jury to be like, yeah, it's a case we'll take on. And then they sent Lizzie to trial.
Yes, bitch. Let's fucking go.
During the trial and incarceration, the press remained favorable and respectable towards Lizzie Borden because she was a woman and she was of high class. There
Yeah.
was a lot of coverage that reflected that Lizzie was a woman and couldn't be strong enough to commit the crime, and women don't kill with hatchets. So
They are not violent like that
I I've never been violent in my life.
because you're a woman.
Exactly. I can't.
You can't.
The trial was extensively covered with up to 6 pages of testimony and many papers. That's a lot of newspaper. People, well, public opinion swayed on the daily, and the trial attracted reporters from around the world. Lizzie also had the money of her inheritance. She could hire the best legal team in the area to defend her because her dad died and her stepmother.
So it's
So
hers now.
everything is hers. June 5th of 1893, the trial began, and the nation was enthralled. The drama was lost on no one. There was a negative feeling between Lizzie and her stepmother. The daughters found out that Andrew had changed his will and was going to give Abby and her family like an estate, and it was the estate that they had wanted or something. Like it was something along those lines. And so they felt like they weren't getting their true inheritance.
Oh, womp womp.
So they were like, Abby's getting too much and we don't want that. And honestly, I feel like for these two, Abby could have gotten a fucking quarter and they would have been like, this is too much. I can't handle it.
Gold digger.
So they learned the father had changed the will and that the stepmother had amply been provided for. From then on, they stopped calling her mother and adopted a negative feeling towards her. And anytime anyone referred to her as mother, as their mother, they would say, she isn't my mother. My mother died when I was an infant. They're so petty.
Very dramatic.
Calm down.
Not spoiled, like
know.
and bratty.
But
Chill
also, like,
out.
they're like 40.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys.
Bridget Sullivan was the most important of the witnesses because she was like the only one there.
Yeah.
She told the jury of the illnesses the family experienced and her efforts to wash the windows and how Lizzie had summoned her. Dr. Bowen repeated the conversations that he had had with Lizzie and Adelaide Churchill, the neighbor, and admitted that Lizzie was wearing a blue dress that was later said to be burned. But she never saw blood on her, and even her hair was tidy. So that's what the neighbor said. She's like, she looked good. I don't know.
She didn't look like she murdered people with a hatchet.
She didn't look murdery, but I don't.
Like she was ready for a picnic.
Yeah.
We talked about this. Alice Russell did state she witnessed burning the dress, but she also didn't see any blood on the dress. But so
She said it was paint.
the state's case was weak. All their evidence was circumstantial, and the defense approached with their own witnesses, including a Dr. Benjamin Handy who saw a medium-sized man of pale complexion and eyes fixed on the sidewalk walk around agitated and did not stagger and look suspicious. So he was like, that guy was weird, and he was walking around the neighborhood.
He might have had autism, but that doesn't matter. He's a murderer.
It does, like, literally, he could have just been like, I took an edible and it was too hard. And they're like, sus. He's
Too much.
pale.
He's too pale. He
He's too
looks at the
pale.
ground.
Exactly. So some workmen also testified that the detective had to be mistaken because they had been working in the barn a few days before the murders, and there wouldn't be any dust up there because they had literally recently been working in that area. There wouldn't have been enough time. That, Christina, you were like fighting for your life for a second.
I was. He wouldn't stop hitting me. Now I know how Andrew feels.
That was good.
If you're listening, Christina has children and they attack her sometimes.
Anyone with a toddler knows what this is like.
Dude, toddlers are wild and they're always biting. And for why? I know your teeth are coming in. Stop hitting me. Like, ah. Anywho, so the workmen were like, we were just up there. There's no reason for there to be any dust. Stop lying, detectives. After 90 minutes of deliberation, 90, the jury returned with the verdict. She was not guilty. The New York Times praised the verdict. It will be certain relief to every right-minded person who has followed the case to learn that Lizzie Borden has been acquitted of this atrocious crime. Women's groups had rallied to support her and protest the trial. Like, it was a big deal. This was a very public trial. Because also,
Yeah.
like, women don't kill people, you fucking weirdo.
Yeah, they're not strong enough.
I can't lift a hatchet.
God, my uterus would fall out.
It literally would fall out. What is this, a train?
Good God.
Lizzie and Emma lived together in Fall River in a large mansion that they purchased with their inheritance. Well, because everybody else is dead. Where else is the money gonna go?
Fuck it, why not? We
Emma
ballin'.
Emma moved out in 1905, and both women died in 1927. Lizzie at the age of 67, and Emma less than 2 weeks later. What I really liked about this case, and what I found super fascinating about it, was that this case was the first widely publicized trial to feature the use of crime scene photos as evidence. And I felt
Ooh.
like that was super cool and important because I think the way that we think about things today is like we just always have photos available. And so it's just expected. But like there was a time when we did not have photographic evidence for a murder trial. And like that's crazy to me. But the fact that there was a case that it was like the first one that was big news, like that's really cool.
That
And it
is.
was cool to like be able to go to that house and like witness that. I'm not saying like murder is cool, but like it was a significant case for that reason.
Murder is not cool. We don't do
It's
that.
not. We don't.
But that is cool.
It is interesting. So you can, like I said earlier, you can stay at the Lizzie Borden house. And so I did include some fun little hunting stories that I found. They're little. They're nothing crazy, Christina. Don't look at me like that.
Thank you.
On August 7th of 2022, two guests staying at the Lizzie Borden house in Fall River, Massachusetts, had a chilling, unexplained experience. Before the nightly ghost hunt, Vicky and her daughter Emily from Pennsylvania were exploring the first floor of the house when a closet door unlatched and slowly began to open itself just after the lights went out on the guests. So they put the lights out and they opened the closet. That's creepy.
Oh,
One guest explained that she had heard ruffling in the John Morse room,
No.
and even more frighteningly, a man, because it's his room. Anyway, she felt a flame moving along her back, ugh, while
No.
sitting in the bed. And when her partner set a shampoo bottle on a flat surface, it kept being knocked over again and again and again and again. I'd be so annoyed.
he said,
Like,
get
I'm not even mad. I'm not even scared. I'm just pissed. Like, stop. This is rude.
Leave it alone.
Even though these folks had some chilling experiences, they admitted that they would come back and even refer their friends to come visit the Lizzie Borden house. So it's not that bad. Many people have also taken pictures and seen faces in the photos that look like Andrew Borden and like a woman walking around. So that was cool.
No.
But yeah, that is our episode on Lizzie Borden. And that is how we will conclude our, I guess, season for a little bit until January. But what did you guys think of this episode?
I
Of
can't
our
believe she got
topic?
away with it, dude.
Yeah, I was
What?
gonna say that. Like the fact that they were like, no, all fingers pointing towards her. She probably did it to be like people rallying for her. Like, that's a complete, like, was it 360 almost? Like,
Yeah.
They're like, she said she wasn't guilty. She's a rich white woman
there's
What
no,
else do
and
we need?
yeah, I
nothing
mean,
else.
that is wild.
Hmm.
I mean, so what do you, I mean, like, y'all think she did it, right? Like,
I think that Lizzie and the uncle were in on it. I think that's what
both of
happened.
them, yeah.
Yeah. I
I
feel like
I
it's
do
like
think her sister
convenient.
knew about it though. I feel
But
like her
she was
sister,
like, I'm not going to be involved.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense.
because she really benefited from it too.
Yeah, but she was like, I'm not hanging out with you all the time though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
could
not
you
trying to get
think, like, if
murdered.
I'm gonna go away, but if something happens, not my business. Like, you know,
I'm going to stay at my sister or my friend's house, but you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
I'm not saying no.
I
But
won't be a witness for you.
yeah, exactly. It was wild. I don't know. It was wild. I just I went to the house. It was kind of weird little house. And like you have to go through like two rooms to get to one of the bed to the master bedroom, which I think is weird. Like you have to go through all the rooms.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I've been in a house like that where like they're all kind of connected, like through doors. It's very
Mhm.
interesting. I don't like that.
I don't like it either. It feels like too much.
It's like an invasion of privacy almost.
Like, why are you trying to go through my room every day?
Yeah. Not okay.
Strange. Strange. So, just a fun final announcement. We will be taking a break until January. Um, the first week of January. I don't know. January. And just keep a lookout on our Instagram and Facebook for any announcements. But we should be back in January, as we, get ourselves together, put out merch, whatever.
Yeah.
But as always, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Sip and Saga Society. If you have any histories, mysteries, or stories you think should be told, feel free to DM us on Instagram or Facebook at sipandsaga_society or visit our website at sipandsaga.com, which should have more stuff in the blog with all our episodes and information about our episodes. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Goodbye.
And then our cool little outro song.
I know. Dun, dun.